Hello, I'm Michael Hoy, and I'm the Social Media Coordinator and Fund Development Specialist here at the Diocese Youngstown, and today we're going to get started with video 2. This video is going to be a little bit more relaxed, and we are going to kind of recap on the last video on a few of the topics, but we're also going to learn something different, which is framing and the locking feature. So stay tuned. This is video number 2, and we are going to be talking about templates and design. So we'll be delving more into the design aspect again. We're going to be talking a little bit about balance. We're going to go over the graphics again and the elements toolbar. We're going to also talk about somewhat transparency, how it can help in a flyer. We're also going to discuss something new, which is the frames, the framing option, and the locking feature that can be helpful. And we're just going to revisit position and layers just to make sure there's no confusion with that. The first thing I want to bring up once again is the design, which is on the left side on the very top here. That's what I call pretty much templates. And templates is something that Canva has already pre-created for you to use. And this is a free feature. This is for the benefit of you. And honestly, you can just use the design or the templates feature if you don't want to create anything at all. So if you received your Canva account, you have no idea how to use it, and you have no time to learn how to create anything in Canva. And at the very least, you can just pick the size of the document you want to print or create. Then you can go through the design element, which is on this left side, click it, and what you can do is, once again, you can look up something like prayer night. So if you are having a prayer night, Canva will have something like that, and I actually have something loaded down here. So this is a youth ministry prayer night. And this is something that Canva has made, and you don't have to do anything other than just change the text inside to whatever you want. You can change out the picture. So right now I'm hovering over, I believe, one of the pictures of the man praying. So if I click on that, I can drag it a little bit, and I can see that it's actually, and I didn't realize this, but it's actually inside of a frame right now. We're going to get to that later, but we can move it, we can manipulate it, we can even delete it, and we have another picture. So I'm not sure why they did that, but it did kind of look cool. I think they lost the saturation in the background, and this one they kind of kept the saturation too. So that is kind of interesting. So they do have a prayer night if you have something like Good Friday that you want to make a poster for or a flyer for. They're going to have a lot of options like that, and I believe I have one also loaded up here. So they have a lot of options. I don't believe they're going to have ultra specific ones, so you're always going to have to edit the template in some way to make it personalized to your parish, to your nonprofit organization. But however, these are all free to use. And if this is the only thing you ever do on Canva, I think it's a good idea. So I would get used to going onto Canva, picking the size of the document, creating something, and then going up to here to the design and just choosing a template. I want to mention balance because I think it's important. I think there can be flyers out there. I think there could be social media posts and other type of media that is very unbalanced, or maybe it's too overwhelming. So what I mean by balance, well, if you look here on the screen, you can kind of see a good balance. It's very simple, and a rule that I stand by is simplicity is better than complex images, because if you have too much on a flyer, you might overwhelm someone who's trying to read it, who's trying to obtain all that information, all the colors, all the images in it. So sometimes the simple things can really stand out. I do like the way they have this Good Friday poster. I mean, I think they could put a little bit more text, to be honest with it, but for a layout, for a template, I think it's nice. If you go up here, I really like this one. I mean, we do have a picture in the background. They have a rectangle in the center, and they took some transparency off, so about 8 points off. So it's not fully visible, has 8 points, and I think that's a great, actually, I think it's a great design choice. And I would even maybe bring it down to 85, but that's just me. We have something like this where we have the image in the bottom, we have the text on the top, we have the main focus of prayer night, so it's telling you exactly what it is right off the bat: youth ministry, prayer night. Then it gets into the little details, so I think that's well balanced. Also wanted to just go one more time through the elements. It's such an important tab. It's probably up there with uploads. It's just one of those tabs I'm probably always on. Probably 90% of the time on Canva, I am already on elements because I'm designing my own from scratch. Not that there's anything wrong with going to design and picking a template, but for my type of work, I need to design stuff from scratch. So going to elements is my go-to no matter what. I'm going to pull up a blank page here, and I just want to run through this really quickly. So it's going to depend. Your recently used is going to look different, of course, than mine, because this is what I used. In fact, for the thumbnail for this video, I used a backbone or a spine because I think I called the last video the backbone of Canva, which was really true. So the last video had a lot about just the basic tools on Canva that you need to know about. So that's why I have that this year. So shapes is very important. Shapes, so for context, you can change the background color by simply clicking on your workspace, which is white by default. And you can go up to the background color and you can select whatever you like, whether it's black, whether it's brown, whether it's red, blue, green, whatever you want. And then you can even change on the color wheel what you would like. So there is that. Or what you can do is, if you're in Elements and if you have shapes right here, you could just open up a square / rectangle and just adjust it to cover all ends, and then make that color whatever you want. Once again, you can make it red, yellow, black, gray, white, whatever you want. So sticking with that, it's also an interesting way to give a visual. So if I were to drag this in a way, let me make this a different shade of green. Let me make this not the background color, but maybe a little bit darker. So if you are working on a flyer, instantly this creates a little bit more depth. And just by doing something like that, you're giving a more interesting visual than just having something green. And even if you were to replicate this, or duplicate rather, rotate a little bit, drag down, and change the color just a tad bit darker, you can see once again you've created something that is a little bit more unique than just a plain background. So let's go back to the elements, and let's say I want to go to the graphics. Sorry, I went that really fast. So if you go to the Elements tab and you go down to the graphics, let's search up something. Well, let's search up the cross, because that's the easy example. So there are a lot of options for the cross, like this one. So let's say we just choose this one, and we want to put this on the top left. So we would click it, drag it to the top. I want to resize it to make it a little bit smaller, position it correctly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. And remember, not all graphics will give you the availability to change the color from here. Later on, much later on, when we get into the more advanced things, I can show you how to sort of change the color of it. But for right now, because it's allowing us to change the color of this from black to any color we want, I'm just going to change this to white. And there we have it. We have a white cross in the top left. And once again, with graphics, you can type anything. And depending on what you're looking up, you can also just look up religious, and you'll get some religious options. If you're a parish, you're just looking for something to add in. Maybe it's a rosary night, a live rosary, or you can have Jesus. You can have the Holy Spirit, the dove. You can add in really whatever you want. I can add this right here. I'll put that on the bottom. Like I said, I know this doesn't look good at all. I'm just giving an example about keeping that balance, keeping the balance. And, you know, if there's an image up here, maybe there should be one down here. I'm not saying there has to be, but it's a nice balance on the page. So yeah, I just wanted to run through the graphics part of that and the elements in general. We are going to completely ignore the AI and the stickers. Photos, of course, photos are a really, really big one. So like working with the graphics and the elements, photos is the same identical thing. Search up anything. Once again, we could do religious, and we can find photos like these. So if I pull this church up, and I think this is a really good example because I can do something right here. I'm going to put it right here for a reason. So if you remember correctly, earlier in the video, about 10 minutes ago, we created the these green rectangles that we kind of placed off. So that counts as, I believe, 2 layers, and then the background is a lighter green. I want to put this picture behind those 2 green rectangles. So what I'm going to do is go to position so you have to first select your image, go to position, and then I'm going to go over here to the layers tab to visualize it better. And I can see that this picture right here is in the front of all the other layers. So I'm going to drag this picture by clicking and dragging and placing it below those 2 rectangles. And now my picture is behind these 2 layers. So it's another interesting visual you can do. And I can tell you right now, this is a very harsh contrast here. We have a very detailed photo, and we have 2 very plain looking rectangles that are in different shades of green. So not that I would ever use this design, but I would probably make the transparency to blend in a little bit with that green. That's a nice balance. That's a nice blend. And I would even, and this is advanced, so I don't expect you to know how to do this, I would even select the image, go to edit image, and we're going to be learning about a lot of these later on, but there is an effect here called blur. And I'm going to select the whole image instead of brushing. I'm going to select whole image, and I'm just going to bring that up a little bit just to blur some of the detail out, because there's a lot of detail in that picture, and we don't really want to once again overwhelm anyone in the flyer. So this is something we have, and I know it's nothing great. I'm just quickly giving an example. We can select another image if we want. If we want people praying, we can even put that in the background. I can quickly just drop that over the picture we just laid. I can lower the transparency like I did the church. I'm going to erase the church. And there is another option. So from there, you can just go text and do prayer night. Increase the size, bring this over here, change the font to this, and change the color of the font. And I mean, that's a really fast way of showing it, but just to give you a quick example on how you can do something like that. But at this moment, I actually want to hop right into the new stuff in this video. So we are going to click on elements. After that, we are going to go down here, and there is a segment called frames. So let's click see all, and I'm going to explain in the best way possible what a frame is. and how you can use it. So a frame is something, and I think it's better to show you this. A frame is something that you would put a picture into a frame. So if you're visualizing an actual frame, a frame in real life, where you're framing your diploma, you're framing a photograph, picture that as a frame on Canva. You're basically selecting the shape of the frame. So whether it looks like a Polaroid, that's a frame. Whether it looks like a desktop monitor, that's a frame. Or whether it's just this basic square back here, that's also a frame. These are all frames, and they can come on all shapes and sizes on Canva. Now, to visually show you what a frame is and what I'm talking about, we are going to go to Uploads, and I'm going to select, we're just going to use this example again. So this was the thumbnail for the first video, the beginning. Once you have this on here on your workspace, you're simply going to drag it to the frame you want. So if I drag it to this frame and let go, it's instantly going to fit in the frame. It's not going to fit perfectly, but it's going to go inside that frame. So if I click on that frame now, and if I hit backspace or erase that, it's just going to be a frame again. If you hit backspace again or delete, it's going to erase the frame. So this might take some time practicing, but if we just bring this in here again, I'll show you another example. If you drag this into the frame that is fitted like a flower, it's going to fit within that flower. Once again, it's not going to crop. It's going to do its own thing, but it's going to go inside this frame. So if you have something to put in a desktop monitor, same thing. And that's a cool way to show a design on a flyer, right? So if we erase this, we take the frame and size it up. That kind of looks like a neat flyer idea if you had something you were going to teach on the computer. So I'm going to select this paper one because I have used it in the past. And if you have a big enough photo, I'm simply widening out this frame. I'm going to put it down here. And then I'm going to put this picture inside that frame. And if you see what that did, that basically is giving the photograph that you inserted into Canva a texture around the rim or the outer side. So this has a cool, unique style where it looks like a ripped page. So another thing is if you double click on the picture that you put in the frame, you can see that something like this pops up. And this can kind of let you move around the picture if you want. That personally looks scary. I would never use this frame, but I'm just using this as an example. This might be an interesting way to make a flyer if you wanted a texture on the outside. It might be difficult to crop a photo within a frame or just using a frame in general. So you may not want to use one, but there is definitely an interesting texture when you do use it. Now, here is where trouble may enter the game. Okay, so I had a quick meeting and it's now the next day. So a quick jump into the future, but we're still going to end this video with the framing. So the example I wanted to show is you would get a picture that you have uploaded, you have a frame in the background, and if you drag this to this frame and you don't want to have another picture interfere and have you accidentally drop into this frame, what you want to do is try the locking feature. And how to obtain the locking feature is the layer or the frame that you don't want to change and that you want to lock down so that no other picture can get in there. And this is very helpful with multiple frames. You want to right click on that frame, and down here we have the lock feature. So we're going to click on that. And right now this layer is locked, and you can even see it up here where it says, well, to unlock it, because right now it is locked, meaning that we cannot move it at all. And we also cannot put another picture. Another picture will not go into this frame unless we unlock it. So we can safely drag it to the other frame we have and nothing will interfere. For the very last feature I just want to recap is the position. So what I did is I put a lot of frames up on this workspace, I believe even 7. So there's about 7 frames on here. So we're going to be using not just the lock feature to make sure everything's locked down, but we're also going to be playing with the position. Now I also brought some pictures in just to put in these frames, but what I would like to do is I would like to take this frame and I would like to position it behind, well, at least this frame and this frame, because that's the frame that right now is behind that you can see. But ultimately, I just kind of want to put it in the back. So what I'm going to do is select the frame that I want to put to the back, go to position, and mine is set up to this tab right here, layers, but you can also go to the arrange and hit just to back. But for the sake of being visual, I'm just going to go to this. I see that because I've selected the frame I want to move to the back, it's already highlighted in purple. So I know what layer that is, and I'm going to take this layer, I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to drag it just all the way down to the bottom. This layer, I want this layer to be in front, and I want this layer to be behind this. So there's 2 ways of doing this. The first way is to either move this frame behind this frame right here, or we can select on this frame and we can put this frame in front of this. I think I want this frame to be in front of everything. So I'm going to take this, and you can see it's basically almost already in front of everything. We just need to drag it out 1 more layer, and instantly it's in front of every single frame. I shouldn't say everything because then there's the photos and those are in the very forefront. But as far as the frames, the framing layers, it's in front of all the frames. Truly the final thing I wanted to show. Position was the last thing, but I just want to quickly show if you want to move anything in a frame, sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's a little bit challenging because you have to play with the scale. So for instance, I'm going to use this picture right here. So as you can see, part of his face is cropped out, and I want him to be sort of the center of the photo. So what I want to do to edit the inside of a frame, you want to double click on that frame. So right there, I just double clicked and you're going to get something like this. It's kind of showing you the whole picture, but it's also kind of showing you what exactly is in that picture. So if it's a big enough picture you're working with, all you're going to want to do is click and drag. And I want to move him over to the left. So more of his face is showing in that frame. So if I just click off here in the blank space to exit, or if you hit done, you can see that now he is more in the center. You could definitely see more of him, and that looks good. Now, to give you another example, you want to double click on the frame, and let's say you just want a very, you want a close up of him in this frame. Well, you can also do something similar to photos, and you can scale it. So I'm going to take one of these corners, I'm going to expand it as much as I want. After I'm done with that, I can see his head just disappeared outside the frame. But because I have extra room, because I scaled it now, I'm going to then drag it back down here. Once I'm happy with that, I click off to the workstation, or I hit done down here. And as you can see, he's front and center. It's a zoom, and you can do this with any picture. If I wanted a zoom in on Bishop Bonner, I would simply just double click on his frame, scale him. Oh, forgot to do it. And then once I scaled him, I'm going to put him back into position to be the center of the frame. I'm going to click off to the side, or you could hit press done, and there you have it. So that's what framing is. That's I'm also going to lock his position so nothing happens to it. If I drag anything else in, I'll lock. So right now it is locked. I cannot move it. I cannot backspace it. I cannot erase it. I cannot put another picture in that frame. Every other frame I can still, but except that one because it is locked. So that is a really important feature: framing, locking, going through the layers, positioning it, and also scaling and editing your photo after it is in a frame. Now, just to keep in mind, most, if not all, and I want to say most elements, most graphics cannot go into a frame, just to warn you. So if you have a graphic you really want to use for your flyer, it's more than likely not going to fit in a frame like a photo will. So photos are good for frames. Elements such as graphics will not fit in a frame. I believe a video will though. And yeah, so that is it. So that completes video 2. I hope you learned a lot. I know this is going to be, once again, a little bit of a longer video than I'd like to do. Hopefully I wasn't baby stepping it, but maybe for some of you that are completely new to this, that was a good thing. Yeah, please leave a like, subscribe, write down in the comments any suggestions, any questions you have that I can answer. And yeah, see you in the next video. God bless.